What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Bankroll Blitz. It's me, Mr. Brad Thomas. We have my buddy Bobby at Prop Holiday, and join us, Matt at Dead Prez Picks. Fellas, how y'all doing today?
Good. What's going on, man? What's going on?
Very good.
Dude,
Appreciate you guys having me on.
hey, listen. When anytime we get a big name like you, a big baller, you made me some lunch money.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm so stoked having you on. I want to do a quick recap of last week's show, and then I will get into the action. For those who are following along, last week we were 5-4, and we were a hook away from a 6-3, but we did cash a big 2-unit field goal prop. So I think we have a little bit of momentum still carrying. That makes that 4 consecutive winning weeks on the show. Let's make it 5. I'm going to start things off with my teaser of the week. I'm doing a 2-team teaser here. I'm going to tease the Kansas City Chiefs down from 9.5 to 3.5. And I'm going to tease the Lions from 9 to 16. And listen, so first let's start with the Chiefs. I've been doing pretty good at nailing their average margin of victory. I was incredibly wrong last week. I still got the win. But when I was putting this one through the model that I had built, I thought that was a pretty safe spot around that 5 number. And then when I saw that I can tease it down to 3.5, I really liked it. So for the Raiders here, this is a big play on the Raiders, but also a play on the Chiefs in December. The Raiders are almost in that kind of downfall mode. You know, if you think about them through the first 4, maybe 5 weeks of the season, they were a top 5 defense, constantly getting pressured on the quarterback. Now they're sliding a little bit closer to the bottom. I wouldn't say they're all the way at the bottom yet. They're bottom third in defense and bottom third in quarterback pressures, which is incredible because they have one of the best pass rushers in football. They're in their last 5. It's really been evident what's really killing them. They're not pressuring the quarterback. They're allowing big plays. 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games. I'm not too keen on that big number of 10, which is why I'm buying it down a little bit. And the Chiefs, this happens with every team who makes that Super Bowl run. Legitimate championship contenders, they tighten up their defense. And in the last 6 games they've played, they have been one of the best defensive units in football. You know, they still allow big plays, which is going to always kill them, which kind of worries me against the Raiders. But I still like the fact that they're, in the last 11 games in December, they're 7-3-1 against the spread. Also, they've covered 5 straight against the Raiders, which I really like. They get this game at home. I'll always tell you play a division game, you gotta be kind of careful, taking huge spreads, which is another reason why I like it bet down. But to back that up, that division number, the Raiders' average margin of defeat this season is 3.2. In conference, it's 10.2, which is a big leap. Some of those games you can kind of tell they gave up, but I like this number here. And the second part of this one is absolutely scary for any of you guys who don't like betting losing teams. It's the Lions. I'm getting them all the way at 16. I actually like the Lions to cover the full number. And I think that's the first time I've said that all season in a teaser for the Lions. Listen, they're one of the teams that fights tough in every single game they play. And the games that they didn't cover are games where, they fought tough early and then they couldn't last throughout the entire game. It reminds me of when they played the Packers. Those are teams that have good offenses. The Broncos do not have a good offense. The Broncos, against the Chiefs, they had multiple opportunities to punch the ball into the end zone, and they failed to do so because the lack of creativity, the lack of efficiency out of Teddy Bridgewater. Also, I know Bobby's going to like this a lot. The Broncos are bottom 10 in explosive plays allowed on defense, and they allow big. Why is that? Because they allow big passes. They're second worst in defensive ADOT. Teams know that they have an elite secondary, but even if you've watched Alabama football, you could see players like Patrick Surtain get beat deep. That's how you're going to beat them. They're good. They're good keeping things up front, but if you want to blow the lid off, you have the opportunity against them. And I think that Jared Goff, he wants to build on that big win. So I'm going to go ahead and tease Chiefs -3.5 and Lions +16.
And one thing about this Lions team, yes, they are probably the worst team in the NFL. But if you look at them competitively, week in and week out, they have been very, very competitive throughout the season. Now you're getting them at 16. They do have the worst wide receiver corps in the league. They added Josh Reynolds. I think the first game was around Thanksgiving. They look like a different team offensively. A little bit. I mean, I'm not saying completely different night and day, but They added another weapon that Goff feels comfortable with. It's not a coincidence they squeak out their first win, 2 games into having Josh Reynolds on that squad. So 16 points seems entirely too much for a team that, yes, they're bad. They're losing games. They've been competitive all season. Remember earlier in the season, Green Bay Monday Night Football, they're leading at halftime. They tied the Steelers. I'm not sure what their DVOA is. They're better than the Falcons. Even though the record isn't as good as the Falcons, on paper, the way they are competing is better than this Atlanta Falcons team. So I love the Lions plus 16. I love them to cover the 10, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm with you guys there. For the Lions, as far as that game goes, I'm also a pick of mine this week will be on them plus the 10. I just don't think the Broncos should be laying 10 against anyone. You mentioned the Lions, they do play tight games, guys, right? They lose a lot, but they also stay competitive. So I'm with you, Brad. I think that plus 16 is a great teaser piece. And I think the pregame for the Lions at plus 10 is also a pretty good bet.
Awesome, cool. Let's roll over to another play in the Chiefs game, a play that I'm really excited. Travis Kelce. Go ahead and lay it on us.
Sure. So it's Travis Kelce over 72.5 receiving yards. I think it may have been bumped up to 73.5, but it's at minus 115. So implied odds have him at 6 receptions. I think it's minus 140 for over 5.5. They're expecting Kelce to get the ball a lot this game. So he's only hit this in 6 games this season, but he had a huge game against the Raiders, I think 2-3 weeks ago. 10 targets, 8 receptions, 119 yards. He's hit this in 2 of the last 3. Obviously, I love it because it's Travis Kelce and what should be a higher scoring affair. I love it for the matchup. Raiders are one of the worst teams in the NFL against tight ends. They give up the 3rd most receptions per game to tight ends. They give up the most yards per game to opposing tight ends. It's almost 11 yards per catch. And most of those tight ends are not Travis Kelce. Now, that's from the data side. From the kind of off the field, big picture perspective, George Kittle's been blowing up lately. We've seen him. He had a huge game last week. I think since Jimmy G's been reinserted as the starter, Kittle has looked like the number 1 tight end in the NFL. And Kelce and Kittle have kind of been tied together their entire careers, always being compared 1A, 1B, 1-2. So I think that mixed with the matchup, I want to see a big game out of Travis Kelce. I was expecting this line to open up at like 77, 78. So why it's still in the low 70s, I love Kelce over 72.5.
Dude, yes. I'm all about Travis Kelce this week. I'm playing him in multiple different ways, which I will drop on Twitter for everyone. But, the number one thing that you said that made me smile, I don't know if you saw me, I was smiling when you said it, was the Las Vegas Raiders are the absolute worst team in the NFL at covering the tight end position. And outside of that game when they played and they lost, 41-14, they haven't really played any very skilled tight ends like Travis Kelce. The narrative's there. I'm glad you're on this play, and I'm going to be backing his yards. Won't touch receptions because I think he'll cover yards with receptions, but I'm back his touchdowns and touchdowns to win.
Well, we're going to talk about touchdowns later in the pod, but we're always looking for big odds. We're always looking for that big payday. I think we saw last night a couple guys on Gambling Twitter had the Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook, 2 touchdowns in a game. Travis Kelce's a guy I'm going to be adding to my 2 touchdown parlay this week. I'm not sure what the odds are at. It's probably anywhere from 4 to 6 to 1. But I feel great about him this week against this Raiders team.
Yeah, you guys are talking me into this prop here with Kelce. You mentioned the Raiders defensively against the tight end position. They're not very good against any position, right? But especially the tight end position. I think they'll soar over that number for sure. Their offense is finally kind of finding that rhythm back, especially Kelce. And you guys even mentioned the Kittle narrative. There is kind of that thing that's always going on. We were talking about prior to this that they're always compared to one and the other. So I like that big week out of Kelce for sure, and I think he'll definitely get over this number, guys.
Awesome. Listen, you guys are making me sad with your next pick. Diehard Bucs fan. I want the Bucs to just go out there and annihilate the Bills, but I'm seeing that you guys are going to fade the public in this one. The public is heavy on Tampa Bay Buccaneers at minus 3.5. You guys are on the Bills. Tell me why.
Matt, take it away. I talked enough already.
Yeah, I'll start us off here. I'm sure we have similar views, maybe a little bit different as well. But we're both going to be on the Bills in this game. I just think it's too many points in this spot. I think you kind of mentioned it, Brad, too. It's a good public fade. People just saw the Bills get beat up a little bit by the Patriots. Now they're thinking it's a layup here with the Bucs at home, minus 3.5. But look, this Bills team, I think they're just going to kind of say screw it and just sit back and let Josh Allen throw 40, 45 times. I don't even think they're going to try and get the run game going. You can't run on the Bucs really no matter who you are. They have a great run defense. So I think this is going to play into, the Bills' strength here, throwing the football. Josh Allen will be able to make plays with his legs. They might not be scripted plays, right? But they're going to be able to open up running lanes through the air for him. It's just a game, guys, where I think these teams match up so closely that I'm going to take the team with the point. So I don't see a major difference in talent. I know the Bills have kind of struggled a little bit of late. They've been a lot of Jekyll and Hyde, winning one week, losing the next. So for me, in a game like this, they love to fade the public in this spot, but I also just think the Bills actually win this outright. But in a game like this, I'm going to feel comfortable taking the team with the points because I think it's that close and it comes down to maybe a field goal, perhaps, but definitely give me the 3.5 for the Bills.
Yeah. No, we're out of eye on this, Matt. I mean, this is what this Bills offense wants to do. We saw what they can't do last week. They cannot play hard-nosed, gritty, pounded between the tackles football. They want to pass the ball, and who better to do it than against one of the worst secondaries in the league with one of the best front fours in the league. So I do think this is a game that bodes well for the Bills. Just throwing some random stats out there for you guys. Bills are 4-0 after a loss. That's not with the spread. That's just straight up they're 4-0 after a loss. They're 1-0 as an away underdog this season, 2-0 in non-conference games, 3-0 with the rest disadvantage. So they already played Monday Night Football. This all sets up for them. The fact that we're getting 3.5, I love that half a point, makes me feel a lot better. But more importantly, they're likely going to be one of my upsets this week. I like them straight up. You're giving me more than a field goal. I'm taking it. So we're eye to eye on this one, man.
Yeah, I had a couple of interesting thoughts on this game of gameplay. I was talking to you about it from a prop betting perspective, where Josh Allen's number is sitting at 40.5 pass attempts per game. It's going to be interesting to see because the Buffalo Bills ran the ball way more than they wanted to against the Patriots, but they were forced to because of the inclement weather. I think that it's interesting to see that even though they ran the ball a ton of times, they were averaging less than 3.5 rushes per game, which leads me back to believe with the offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, he knows how to adjust his game script from game to game and from situation to situation. With Tampa Bay being the number one rush defense in quarters 1 through 3, I don't think he's going to have to establish the run or even want to establish the run. I think he's going to let Josh Allen go out there and throw the ball around and find pockets in that weak secondary. So it's going to be all up to Josh Allen. This is one of those games where a lot of people are going to call it Josh Allen versus Tom Brady. I think it's going to be more of Josh Allen versus the secondary, because if Josh Allen can find his spots, it's going to be a very long night for that secondary. It's going to be a lot of having to keep up for Byron Leftwich and company on the other side.
Josh Allen owes me one for Monday Night Football. I don't know if anybody saw my same game parlay. I was 1 yard short of rushing yards short of 40. And not for nothing, that's what the Bills offense needed last week.
Yeah.
He was having success running the ball. They needed to use him more with his legs. Instead, it's 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts in the snow, and they're throwing the ball downfield. This is what Bill Belichick is begging for you to do, and they got away from that. So, yes, I'm salty, and Josh Allen owes me one.
Listen, we went to the bar. My buddy's a Pats fan, and I go, listen, my boy is so close to hitting this. Everyone needs to root anytime Josh Allen runs. And dude, I felt like I was more sick than you were. I was like, this sucks, man.
It was 11:30 at night. My wife's asleep. I'm in bed. The lights are off. The game's on. There's the last 2-minute drive. They get the ball, and I'm standing up in front of my TV 3 feet away in the bedroom in the dark. She woke up in the middle of the night like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, sorry, babe. It's very, very important. And then I just went to bed she's like, did you win? Half awake. I'm like, no, I didn't. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, dude, I was hurting for you. I know there's another prop in this game, and it kind of plays into what all three of us have been talking about with this Tampa Bay secondary and the willingness for Josh Allen to kind of throw the pigskin around. Someone has a play on Cole Beasley. Lay it on us. Tell us why.
Sure. No, that's me, man. It's I know I'm kind of sticking with this one game here, but I love the matchup. I love the matchup more than anything else. So it's Cole Beasley over 40.5 receiving yards. It may have bumped up to 41.5. I still love it there at -115. So I like Beasley to be targeted often against this weak secondary. They also have a superior pass rush. So you want to get the ball out of your hands as soon as possible, preferably to your short routes and your slot wide receiver. Now, the Bucs play a lot of zone coverage, about 75% of the time. This favors Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley is the number one targeted option when playing zone defenses for this Buffalo Bills. So I expect Cole Beasley to probably get anywhere from 4 to 5 receptions. Usually one goes for that 15 to 17-yard mark, and then the rest are just kind of dinks and dunks. I really don't like the secondary of this Bucs offense, and I love the matchup for Beasley. So over 40.5, play it up to 41.5. But I think we all expect this to be kind of a higher scoring affair. So Beasley should see a lot of targets this week.
Yeah, I like anything that has to do with Bills receivers. So I went back and I double checked all of these numbers because I just remember this from an alarming rate. But when the Bills play against top 10 rush defenses, and most teams that have good rush defenses have good pass rush as well. Josh Allen's thrown the ball over. He's thrown the ball over 40 times in every single game. I think that Cole Beasley's gonna have every opportunity to go out there and kind of show what he's got and take those small plays. But when you're getting a lot of small receptions, they start to add up and they kind of hit that number. When you told me about this Beasley prop, I was pretty excited because it's not often when I find an angle against my own team and I go out there and I want to kind of attack it as much as I possibly can.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think this is a really good spot. You mentioned there, with the way that this, Bucs secondary plays. But if you can just spark one of these for that 17, 20-yard gain, I think this will fly over that 40.5.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Operation Fade. Guys, Operation Fade last week was such a dud, and it started out so hot. Like, man, it's just we're getting owned by weather. I can't control Mother Nature. But it started out hot. We had 9 points in first 5 minutes, and then it just died out, and the game ended at somewhere like 30-something points. But anyways, Operation Fade, for those who don't know, I look at the 4 most bet public games, whether that's spread, money line, or total, and I find one that I want to fade. The first one is the most money on money line is the Raiders, 79%. Next, the Rams, 77%. Next, the Falcons at 75%. Next, the Packers at 74%. I'm going with the Panthers, and this is a game that I wanted to bet regardless of Operation Fade. Those generally bode well for us. Listen, we have two sides that are both terrible. They're 5-7, both straight up and against the spread. Their offenses haven't been humming along remotely. Both averaging under 20 points per contest here. And what's really interesting about these offenses is, for the Panthers, Joe Brady's gone. And I think that Cam Newton, I think he came out and said this publicly, but he's taken a lot of ownership for Brady getting fired. He came in here and was expected to be the Cam Newton of old, and that's just not who he is. Well, I think that the Panthers are going to start to establish their own with Hubbard a little bit more than they have in their past couple of games with McCaffrey. And I think that the edge here absolutely goes to the Panthers defense. The Falcons against good defense have been shut out multiple times and have played god-awful. This is a defense that's hardly allowing 15 points per game. And the Panthers have owned this head-to-head in their last 3. Minus 135, it's moved from minus 132, but I'm still comfortable playing it at minus 135. I'm going to back the Panthers. I expect a big game off the bye week here. So let's see what we got going there with Tom Brady. Listen to me, with Cam Newton and Chubba Hubbard.
You're going to hear me mention this later in the podcast, but I love this line. You mentioned Nixon coming in. So he was the offensive coordinator of Baylor previous to being the running backs coach for the Panthers. They averaged 36 rush per attempts per game in that Baylor offense. This bodes well for Cam Newton. It bodes well for Chubba Hubbard. I'm expecting Cam to see like 8 to 12 rushes on Sunday versus the Falcons. And this Falcons defense versus mobile quarterbacks has been bad. Jalen Hurts, 62 yards. Daniel Jones, 39. Taylor Heineke, 43. Sam Darnold, 66. Trevor Lawrence, 39. So I'm having an offensive-minded head coach with a running quarterback. And I actually really like Chubba Hubbard. I think he's going to be a starting running back at some point in his career in the NFL. So I do love this play. And like we said about Atlanta earlier in the podcast, Detroit's better than them from DVOA. I don't care what the record said. The Detroit Lions are a better football team than the Atlanta Falcons. So, no, I'm all on it, especially minus 130. It's equivalent to what we would normally play at minus 110, minus 115, but we're getting it straight up. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you guys here. And the crazy thing about this game, guys, is it's actually a big game for the playoffs because both these teams somehow are sticking in the hunt. So it'll be a fun game. I think we have some touchdown props in this game that we're going to talk about later as well. But another one just to throw out there, I think Cam Newton will find his way in the end zone at some point in this game. So I'm with you guys here. I think Carolina gets it done. But like I said, it's a crazy game because it means a lot to both of these teams at this stage in the season.
So Listen, I'm so sick of rostering Lamar Jackson in DFS, and I'm so mad of having him on my team. I really wish I would have went a different direction. But however, the Browns are forced to stop Lamar Jackson. Tell me why you like the Browns in this situation.
Yeah, guys. I mean, this is probably a scarier play. A lot of people might think the Ravens with that, plus money here is an easy play, but this is a huge game for the Browns, right? Like they're at 500 right now. They need this game to kind of keep their playoff hopes alive. And this Ravens offense, I'm kind of questioning at the moment. They've struggled the last few weeks to get some flow. Now, the Ravens did turn the ball over 4 times and still beat the Browns, so I am a little concerned on that front, but the Browns offense wasn't much better in that game. So I think we see a bounce-back game here for Baker Mayfield from this Browns offense. I think the Browns defense does turn the Ravens over a couple times in this game, and ultimately they get there. But this is me taking them, right? They kind of got embarrassed a little bit in the last game. They just played. They had the bye week, so now they're coming back here with them. I think based off this line and the way it's continued to move, it's actually moving up. I think it's opened 1.5 or 2, and I'm seeing it even as high as 3 now some places. So I'm going to follow the trend here. I think the Browns get this done at home. I'm not a big Baker Mayfield guy. I'll tell you guys the truth, but in this spot, I do think Cleveland, with kind of their season on the line, I would say, even though they could technically lose this game, but still get in one of those wild card spots. But it's going to be tough if they fall under that 500 mark. So give me the Browns in this game, guys. I think it'll be a good game, but I think they ultimately get it done at -2.5.
Yeah, no, me and Bear were talking about it earlier with the explosive plays and how the Baltimore Ravens give up a lot of explosive pass plays, and that's exactly what this Browns offense needs to be competitive. Their defense plays better with a lead. When Myles Garrett can pin his ears back and just rush the passer, unfortunately this week it's Lamar Jackson, but that's when this defense plays better. So I'm actually on the Browns this week as well. I do think it's a good play. They lost Marlon Humphrey for the year. It's one of those things. I can't really put stats and words to it. I'm not heavy betting this, but I really do love the Browns in this spot. I think they can put up points. We're going to, again, talk about it in the touchdowns later in the pod, but this game could be a little bit more explosive than I think most are expecting. I think the over-under line is not very high. It's, 44.5, 45.5. I expect a little bit higher scoring affair in this, and if it is, I actually favor the Browns.
The only thing that I checked about this game, outside of our knowledge of the explosive plays, is the lopsided market. It's the 4th biggest lopsided market with a 21% difference. For those who like, following the money, smart money's on Browns, it looks like. I'll tell that, guys. Mm-hmm. So this is the second week in a row. We have conflicting picks a little bit. Tell me why you like the Raiders at +10.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one to give you guys stats on, right? Because I don't think any stats are going to back up the Raiders in this spot. But I've actually backed Kansas City a lot during, I kind of bought the dip on them. I think some people got off them when they went cold. I hopped on them to win the division when it got as low as -110. I think it even got to plus money. So I'm high on Kansas City. I want Kansas City to win this game, but I don't feel comfortable laying 10 on them. I think the Raiders can score enough points to stay in this game. The status of Darren Waller is something I've been keeping my eye on all week. He continues to be day-to-day. Obviously, I'd love him to go in this game. If he can't, they're going to need other guys to step up. They're going to need Hunter Renfrow to have a big game, and they're going to need that run game to be good enough in this spot. I don't think the Raiders win this outright. I just think 10 in a divisional game is too many points. Also, the Raiders got embarrassed a little bit when they played the last time, and that game was in Las Vegas. Now, this one being in Kansas City. In divisional games, guys, I'm always a big take the points in divisional games, even if sometimes it's like taking a team like the Lions or, an awful team. I always like to take points in divisional games. Now, I don't think the Raiders are, a team that is going to make the playoffs, but they can get in, right? They're still right there. So they're going to be well motivated to play this game. I actually think the game plan for them is going to have to be that they're going to have to establish the run game and keep Patrick Mahomes and that high-powered offense on the sideline. Kind of like that one drive the Broncos had against them last weekend, if you guys were watching that game. I mean, they just took the air out of the ball. I had Kansas City's team total over. That kind of killed it. It was like a 10-minute drive. They didn't even score any points. But
20 plays.
Keeping Mahomes and company on the sideline, it's so key when you play Kansas City. So I think that has to be their game plan, that they're going to need that run game. Like I said, would it be great if Waller plays? Yes. But even if he doesn't go, I do think they're able to stay within this number at 10 points.
Hey, that's totally cool with me as long as it's more than a 4 point
Yeah,
victory
people
or
by
more.
4,
I'm
right?
totally
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I was part of that buy low process with the Chiefs. I got them to win the division. I think at plus 110. Got them to win the AFC at plus 350. I mean, crazier things have happened, especially when a team has Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I think people panic too quick on them, to be honest. And
Yeah,
that defense this year, you guys are mentioning their defense is actually maybe the best they've had, right?
yeah,
So I think it was a great spot, to buy the Chiefs when they were on that cold spell.
yeah. I'm gonna get into a play, another field goal prop, guys. I tried so hard not to have a field goal prop this week,
Why?
and
Why would you try not to? That's your
I
stick,
don't.
man.
Yeah, I don't want people to get bored. They're like, God, field goal props every week, but they keep cashing. This one's a funny one because, the Broncos against the Chiefs refused to kick field goals, and I think that if the Broncos were to play in that game and they proved that they were okay with taking points, this line would have been closer to the minus 160. I'm taking Broncos over 1.5 field goals at minus 145. You guys heard it. I'm on the Lions, but the Lions allowed the most field goals per game because they allowed the most plays inside their own half in football. That statement alone is enough for me to at least consider looking at a field goal prop. Because if you're getting opportunities inside of your opponent's side of the field, you're going to have opportunities to score, whether that's touchdowns, field goals. I wrote in my notes that I don't think Teddy Bridgewater and that offense is dynamic enough to find the end zone a lot of times against the Lions here. So it gives me the opportunity to have multiple attempts. They're allowing like 4 attempts per game. All we need to do is have an elite kicker like McManus go out there and strike 2 of them for us to cash. And guys, finally, we get a beautiful, beautiful forecast. There's like 5 mile per hour wind, 0 chance of precipitation, 35 degrees. The balls will be a little hard, but we get a little extra elevation with the ball there. So the second one, this one's not an official play, but guys, you guys would be out of your mind if you do not bet Carlson every week. Reason it's not official is because I think that the Raiders are going to have to keep up in order to score, and that's Daniel Carlson over 1.5 field goals at plus 120. Guys, listen, this man has hit this number in over 80% of his games. They didn't hit in the last game they played against the Chiefs because they got down so quick. And a lot of teams, when they play the Chiefs, they know that they have to score touchdowns to kind of keep up. But when you're getting plus odds, it's absolutely lovely. And if you don't have plus odds, I wouldn't play it. If you don't have plus odds, I would also take Raiders over at least 1 field goal in the first half, because this is a type of game where it'll be determined early if the Raiders are out there trying to throw knockout punches or they're okay with jabbing, and the jabs are field goals.
Hey guys, I can't lie. I haven't taken a field goal prop in my life, but I'm gonna tell you this week, Brad.
Okay.
I'm gonna hop in. I mean, the McManus one with the Broncos. I think that one makes a lot of sense. You mentioned the Lions. They're going to give up yards every single drive, so
Yep.
hopefully they'll settle there for a few field goals. But I'm excited to finally ride a field goal prop this year.
Be careful, man. I'm scarred from. So I had my lock of the week last week was Robbie Gould over 6.5 kicking points. He missed his first extra point all season, which was a heartbreaker, and he had 5 kicking points at halftime. So I'm like, oh, I missed it. No big deal.
Yeah, he'll get 1 second half.
2 touchdowns. They're moving the ball at will. Nah, they're finished with 5 kicking points. I want to cry. So they're a lot of fun. But
I'll proceed with caution there.
we missed 2 field goal props this year. One was Daniel Carlson missed his first half over because John Gruden decided to go for it 3 times on 4th down, and the other one was the Falcons, who had 3rd and long from the goal line 2 times, and they threw bomb passes to Cordell Patterson. My stomach hurts thinking about how Cordell Patterson turned into freaking Randy Moss in that game. So I hope we don't get those situations.
Right.
They're either very lucrative or they'll make your stomach turn. So there's probably for good reason. That
sounds fun, though, yeah.
Yeah, they're super fun. Awesome. Let's get into our touchdown prop parlay. Last week was fun, but we had a couple injuries that took us away. We have 4 this week. Start us off with why you like Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Sure, man. I mean, we touched base on earlier in the podcast. Baltimore Ravens are giving up some of the most explosive pass plays all season. Donovan Peoples-Jones, this is their deep target now. We saw him explode, I think, 2-3 weeks ago with deep touchdowns. Marlon Humphrey's out of the game, and we already talked about it. I do think it's going to be a little bit more of a higher scoring affair. So Donovan Peoples-Jones at almost 3-1 with a great matchup in a game where I think they're going to have to put up points. Yeah, give it to me. I'm all over it.
Awesome. Up next, we have Chubba Hubbard.
Again, I'm leaving little breadcrumbs throughout the podcast, letting you know what my touchdown props are going to be. Nixon as the offensive coordinator. Baylor ran the ball 36 times a game. I do think the recipe for success against this Atlanta team is going to be running the ball. I do think Cam Newton squeaks in, but I like Chubba Hubbard here equally, and he's got a little bit better odds. I think Cam was like plus 102, Hubbard's plus 115. I think Hubbard's going to see 20, 22 carries this game.
Yes.
One of those has to go in the end zone. So Chubba Hubbard and Donovan Peoples-Jones are my two this week.
For mine's Travis Kelce, minus 135, and I think it's the first guy with minus odds that I've put on here all season. I told you guys I'm a narrative guy. With the fantasy article coming out about Travis Kelce and George Kittle and saying that the average draft position is not worth the average value of the season on Travis Kelce with only having 5 touchdowns on the season. I'm loving it. Raiders are second worst against tight ends in the red zone. Tight ends have scored an alarming 9 touchdowns on the Raiders. I'm minus 135. I'm going to play that by itself and in the parlay.
Look for 2. Look for 2 Travis Kelce touchdowns.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, mine's going to be Dawson Knox here at plus 200. He's been a red zone target all season for Josh Allen. He's been able to find the end zone. He did cool off a bit with touchdowns. He did have 2 Thanksgiving night against the Saints, but I think Knox had a little bit of a rough week last week. That last second play, maybe a ball he could have caught. I know the weather also was playing a factor, but I think revenge will be on the mind here, guys, of Dawson Knox in this game. And I think it's just going to be a lot of scores, right, both ways. Yeah. This Bucs secondary, I'm willing to take a shot here on the big target in the red zone for the Bills. So I think Dawson Knox will find his way in the end zone in this game.
Yeah, I like Knox as well. Was that 41 targets on the season, 7 touchdowns. And of those 41 targets, a lot of them came in the red zone. And one thing that you'll notice about Knox and Josh Allen is Josh Allen's willingness to trust Knox with balls that are kind of in tight windows. So he's getting the opportunities. At plus 200, I think that the odds are speaking for themselves. So that is, I'm going to put the odds up one more time for you guys to see it. It's plus 4,200 for 4 players. It's great odds right there. So you guys lock it in. Hey, Matt, I want to thank you for joining the show. If you guys want to follow Matt, it's at DeadPrezPicks. You want to follow me on Twitter at Mr. Brad Thomas, and Bobby, that's at Prop Holiday, 2 L's. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Bankroll Blitz. If you're looking on YouTube, press the like and subscribe button. If you're on a podcast, please download, rate, and subscribe. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys.